Today on the show, you and I discuss what is possibly the most optimistic day of the year. Happy opening day. So glad baseball season's back.
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
We need it today. You, me, all of us. America needed today. Opening day. There's something transformative. There's something powerful and transformative and life-giving about the first baseball game of the year. If things are going right, on opening day, the sun is out. The air is sweet with the smell of burgers, dogs, popcorn, peanuts, and Cracker Jacks. And everyone, all of us, everyone has a team that's in first place. The days are getting longer. The nights are getting warmer as you look forward to 6 months and 162 games of possibility. The great Tom Petty and baseball both remind us that even the losers get lucky sometimes, as the team most destined to fail can and will beat the team in first place. And in that moment, in that beautiful singular moment, that's all that matters. The start of baseball season, it's a reminder of infinite possibility, my friend. Some call it the most optimistic day of the year. Optimism is born anew. Hope fills both your heart and the air. And sometimes that's all you need. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back. Happy opening day, my friend.
I was good at baseball games. All guys do this. We bring our gloves to the games. What are we thinking? We're going to get a shot at playing in the game? Cal Ripken Jr. is going to get hit by a pitch. Announcer's going to come on. Yeah, Cal Jr. is hurt. Murray Feldman, section 14, row 12. Can you come down, take a couple ground balls? Oh, good. You got your glove? Perfect. You notice the war ended, and then baseball season started. You know that. Baseball announcers would never let a war preempt a baseball game. Baseball's too important. You know, at least to the announcers. They don't care what's going on. You ever listen to baseball announcers? Bottom of the fourth inning, Cal Ripken Jr. up for the Orioles. He's batting .292, 21 home runs, 90 RBIs. He's facing left-hander Perez of the Yankees. Yankees up 4-1, bottom of the fourth. Oh, by the way, this message came in last inning from the emergency broadcast system. Sorry, forgot to mention that. Apparently, it seems that the Iraqi military has just launched a total nuclear strike of 348. That's going way back to the wall. Bottles out of here. Cal Ripken was number 23 on the earth at 4-2 ball game. The O's are right back in this one. But I bring up the left-hander Orsolak to face the lefty Perez. And speaking of leftists, let's get back to that military message for just a second. Apparently, seeing the Iraqi military has 348 incoming thermonuclear warheads that will be landing within the continental United States within the next 5 to 15 minutes. And speaking of incoming, Cleveland Indians, big homestand this weekend. Geiger counter night, Saturday night. Watch out for that one. We're going to go over a list of some of the cities already destroyed by the nuclear holocaust. We'll start with the National League. Pirates had a close one over the Padres till nuclear winter stopped playing in the fourth inning. 40% destruction in that fair city. Over the American League West, some early numbers. Seattle, Washington, 22% destroyed. This just in, Toronto, Ontario, 100% destroyed. That'll make the Orioles happy. That'll move them up a notch in the standings.
Dan Rosen is right, though. This is what's amazing about baseball, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how baseball has managed to do what it has done. In that, every other professional sport seems to have been infected by divisive politics. I don't know how baseball has managed to get around it, but I know it was on purpose, and I hope however they did it, they continue to do it. Because that's exactly what we need. We need a chance to check our differences at the ballpark gates. We need a chance to root for their home team. We need a chance to band together in one of the things that makes us the same, as opposed to take sides over things that make us different. I don't know what Major League Baseball has done. They're big business. And I don't think there's a single instance of big business having its hands completely and totally clean. But over the last couple of years, when football and basketball have been riddled with division, baseball has done what I hope we do on this show. Baseball has brought people together. And maybe it does have something to do with the time of year. What happens right before opening day of baseball? Those days start getting longer. The nights start getting warmer. Summertime is on its way. Spring is new life. Spring is renewed optimism. Spring is renewed hope. The dreariness falls away. The clouds part. You don't have to get a jacket and heavy boots or a raincoat every single time you walk outside. Somehow it feels like everything is all right. That person over there, they're all right. And besides the fact that my beloved New York Mets won, besides the fact that my beloved New York Mets went to Washington, where they took on the arch rivals, the Nationals. But I don't know if there are arch rivals anymore. I mean, historically, we have beef with the Phillies. Bryce Harper left the Nationals, and he's playing for the Phillies now. So I don't know if there's anywhere near as much of a grudge between the Mets and the Nationals as there once was, but it was good to go to their hometown on opening day and show them what's what. The Cy Young winning pitcher, Jacob deGrom, being deGrominant as usual. Even though he didn't have control of his secondary stuff, he's still crafty. He's still the best. He's still the guy that won the Cy Young. And he still got the job done. Except this time, thanks to Robinson Cano, he got the run support he needed to put a win in the books. But that's neither here nor there. It's the beauty of opening day. The fact that it makes you forget about everything else. The fact that it bonds you. The love of the game. The fact that we all have a team in first place for one glorious moment. That opening day feeling. Something that you, me, all of us should do our very best to hold on to. Because in a lot of ways, it's the very best of us.
Real radio. 104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So, one of the things about being in radio is that, well, you kind of wind up moving around the country a little bit. I do, and you know what? I've done it a whole lot less than a lot of the people that I've talked to about this, who have also been in radio. I am from New York. Well, I grew up in London. This is how I became a Mets fan in the first place. My father is actually kind of, traditionally speaking, a Yankees fan. My father grew up in Rochester, New York. My dad's English. His family moved to Rochester when he was a kid. And I'll never understand it. I guess it's sort of an old school thing, but people from Rochester, from upstate New York, are Yankees fans. You would think that, the further outside of New York City you got, the more likely you would be to be a Mets fan, but not so much. Whatever the case may be, my dad is a Yankees fan. When I was a little kid, though, we moved to England. And, well, the way that I bonded with my dad, one of the ways I bonded with my dad, a lot of it was over music. We both played the drums, so we kind of had that in common, and we spent time sort of learning drums together. It was actually really cool. This is a weird sort of sidebar, but my dad played the drums growing up when he was a kid. And when I was a kid, about 3-4 years old, I think, I saw Animal from The Muppet Show on TV and went, I like that. I would like to play the drums. My parents heard that, took it quite literally, and on my 4th birthday, I came downstairs and there was a drum kit there. And I've been playing drums since I was 4 years old, which was really, really cool and very patient of my parents to indulge that. I was almost a professional drummer. I was going to go to New England Conservatory of Music to do that double degree program between Tufts and New England Conservatory of Music and study jazz and classical percussion. And had that happened, I probably would have wound up playing in an orchestra or something like that, or perhaps being a teacher, or maybe a mixture of the two, whatever the case may be. We had the drums. We bonded over that because he started playing when I started playing, or he started playing again, and we kind of picked up stuff in the same way. But my dad traveled a lot. My dad was away for work a lot of the year. And when he got back, one of the ways we'd spend time together was playing catch. My dad was also the star pitcher on his high school baseball team. And I'll never forget, it's one of my proudest moments ever, when it turned out that I had a bit of an arm and that I had potential to be a pitcher too. Never forget my dad calling my mom from outside the house, being, come out here, look at this. All right, Adrian, fire it in there. And, hearing that pop as the ball hit the catcher's mitt my father used, and seeing my father wince in pain because I put some heat on it, and seeing my father look at my mom and seeing them both look at me, that was a big deal. I love baseball. I love baseball with my father. And there's something incredibly, I don't know what you would call it, almost meditative about playing catch. The idea of transcendental meditation, I don't know if you've ever come across this, but this is something that Jerry Seinfeld and Howard Stern and the Beatles and a lot of people are very creative people are very into. And I've learned a little bit about it, but one thing that's interesting about transcendental meditation is that you essentially repeat one thing over and over and over again, and it focuses your mind away and lets your mind move freely. Does that make sense? You're kind of distracting your mind from all the processes, all the fretting, all the anxiety, all the predetermined patterns that your mind tends to run by focusing on this meditative mantra. That's the idea. That's how it works. And it does free you up, and you find yourself thinking and doing things a little bit differently while you're doing that, if that makes sense. I've done it a teeny tiny little bit, but that's how it worked for me. There's something similar about playing catch. It frees up your mind because, well, you got to concentrate on the ball. You got to not have it hit you in the face. But it's not something that requires intense concentration. Playing a game of catch is a great way to focus your mind somewhere else. And when you do that, it sort of frees you up. And when I was a kid, I would find myself having conversations with my father while we were playing catch that I wouldn't necessarily usually have. And maybe the same was true for him as well. But it's a bonding moment. And if I ever have a kid, I hope to do the same thing with them. Watch, they'll get nothing out of it. They'll have no interest in baseball. All my preconceived notions of going out there and tossing a ball around with a kiddo will be straight out the window because they find that to be antiquated, silly, and hate baseball. Or maybe not. I don't know. But for me, it meant an awful lot to have that bond of baseball. Just playing catch with my father. And when I was a little kid, we moved to England. It was kind of hard to follow baseball from England. This was really before that much baseball was made available in foreign countries. But when I was a little child, I was allowed to stay up late to watch the 1986 World Series. And like I said, my dad was a Yankees fan. People from Rochester are Yankees fans. Okay. But all I knew was that my family was from New York. And there was a New York team playing in the World Series, and I was being allowed to stay up late with my dad to watch TV, watch the big baseball game. And, it turned out to be what a lot of people will still tell you was the single greatest World Series in the history of the World Series. Just nail-biting drama down to the very last second. The very last second where the Mets won. And so I kind of joke that I was a Mets bandwagon jumper. When I was 6 years old, they won the World Series, and that's when I became interested in them. And it was such a con. Oh, man. That was my gateway drug. And oh man, I can still get chills. So I'm watching the goosebumps form on my arm right now as I think about Doc Gooden and Darryl Strawberry and Keith Hernandez, and Mookie, and the crew that are forever etched into every single New York Mets fan's memories. Even the ones that weren't alive. Doesn't matter if you weren't alive in 1986. You've seen it, you know it, you've learned it, you've loved it, and it's part of your DNA. But for me, it was such a con because there I was. There I was going, oh man, I like the Mets. The Mets are the champions. This is going to be great. They're just going to win all the time. They did not win all the time. Being a Mets fan has never been an easy thing. But it's a beautiful thing. It's an amazing thing. And you might be one of those people that doesn't really care about baseball. You might not have a team. You might not have that emotional attachment to it. I mean, I certainly understand that. I don't have that emotional attachment to football. I like football. I like going to a football game. I don't really have a team that I get excited about because when I grew up in England, it was very difficult to follow football. I was barely on TV as well. And we didn't have a team. And I grew up playing baseball. My team had... My school, when I was a kid, which was an American school in England, had a baseball team, but we had no football team. We had a rugby team. Go figure. So I understand it if you're not attached to it and emotionally anchored to it in the same way. But I think this time of year, when you and I spend time talking about baseball, we're not talking about baseball. We're talking about joy. We're talking about happiness. We're talking about the ability to let things go, the ability to give your mind a rest, to help it stop running that destructive defensive pattern that we've been conditioned to run in our heads over and over again. I know that for me, baseball is everything. It's an emotional roller coaster, but it's also an escape. It's also a break from everything that your mind does to you day in and day out. And so I hope you have something similar. I hope you have that. And if you don't, I hope you get that. I hope you get something that gives you a break from the emotional wrangling that is life in America in 2019. I hope that you get something that allows you to focus what you think away from conflict. I hope that you get something in your life that allows you to be the best version of yourself. One that's not following the sad 2019 trend of feeling the need to dominate or feel like you're being dominated. One that's not trying to get one over. One that's not snarky back and forth on social media as a way of life. I hope that you find something that does for you what baseball does for me, which is allow you to check all the troubles of the world at the door for a glorious 3 hours as you are swept away on a journey of something else, whatever that may be.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land.
All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
You know, I don't really plan for the future too much. I don't really think about what's going to happen in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But I do know one thing. When I retire, which Man, I would love to do that right now. Quite frankly, I would love to skip over the next 30 years, move straight to Del Boca Vista, start playing shuffleboard and eating early bird dinners. That'd be fantastic. But I do know that when I do retire, it will be to a town that has a minor league baseball team. And I will go to every single game.
I do like sports. Favorite sport is minor league baseball because there's a purity there that you don't get in the majors. Major leagues, there's that taint of like who's been using steroids, who's been using human growth hormone, what's the next cheating trend going to be. You watch a minor league game for just one inning and it becomes abundantly clear that no one is using performance-enhancing drugs. But I like it too because you get a more personal heckle at a minor league game. Because you have players who are working 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet and live the dream of professional ball, and you have hecklers who know them from their other places of employment. So you get a drunk guy at a minor league game that's like, "Hey Johnson, you suck at hitting and landscaping." "Johnson rakes one to left field." "Yeah, not like you did to my lawn." Best part though is it's affordable. You can bring the whole family. The majors have priced out the real fans. Minor leagues, for $4, you can get bleacher seats. For $8, you can get box seats. For $12, you can announce the game and choose all the organ music. And for only 30 cents a day, you can make sure the right fielder has clean drinking water over his head at night.
The very first baseball game that I ever went to was the Rochester Red Wings. When I was a little kid, the Rochester Red Wings, that was a game that was my first experience. I went to Silver Stadium, the old Silver Stadium in Rochester. And I went with my aunt, my uncle, my mom, my dad. And my aunt did something incredible for me. She took the program from the game down to the dugout and got all the players to sign it. Which to me just seemed otherworldly. Those people on the field in those uniforms, they wrote on the thing that I get to take home, "Oh man, unbelievable." And since then, I've loved minor league baseball. And I don't really get a chance to go to minor league baseball games because I don't live in a town most of the year that has a minor league team. I'm all over the place. I'm back and forth between Houston, Texas, and San Diego, California, and the 20 or so other radio stations that I'm on call me out there from time to time. But the vast majority of my time is spent not able to go to minor league baseball games. You know what? Moving forward, I will go because, there's something magical about it. There's something incredible about being able to get in and see people that you know see in real life playing this game that you love so much. You can get up close. You can peek over the heads of the scouts as they are sitting there with their radar guns trying to see how much heat this prospect is really packing. It's great stuff. And then, of course, there are the snacks. Oh, the delicious, delicious snacks. And this is not just limited to minor league teams. That's one thing I've noticed, though. Minor league teams, they got to work harder to pull the punters in. They got to work harder to fill seats. Because, look, anytime anyone gets to the minors and is any good, there's a very good chance they're going to get called up, whether that's to from A to double A, from double A to triple A, from triple A to the minors. To the majors. So there's not a ton to keep people coming back over and over again. And as a consequence, they got to do interesting things in terms of entertainment between innings and providing food. And man, opening day food for baseball, minor league and major league alike, there's all sorts of stuff that you just have to try. And it's probably going to kill you. Here's the thing, though. I've discovered, and this is a good tip for out-of-market baseball fans like me, I'm on the radio in like 25 or so different cities. Not one of them is New York City, where I call home and where my beloved New York Mets play. I'm not on the air in Queens, so I don't get to go to many Citi Field games, or any Citi Field games. But I found a good way of MacGyvering a great imitation ballpark hot dog is, you ever gotten the Costco hot dogs? Man, I think they're Hebrew National, which is what a lot of my favorite ballparks serve. I think they're Hebrew National hot dogs, so that's where you're off to a good start anyway. But if you go to Costco and you get the hot dog there and you get the chili, and then you spread the chili, the Costco chili, onto the hot dog that they make you, it's a halfway decent approximation of a ballpark dog. It's great stuff. But, you know, food at ballparks now goes way beyond the humble hot dog. It's opening day for Major League Baseball, and almost every team is trying to boost ticket sales this year by offering ridiculous food options, and I'm a fan of this. I don't usually eat them because I want to focus on the game. I want to eat my dog. I want to watch, but I love knowing it's there. So I thought you and I could discuss a roundup of the weirdest new foods that you can get at ballparks this season. If you're in Texas and you make it to a Rangers game, try the foul pole. What is it? There's no way this is something that could ever exist in nature. So you have to be aware of that before you shove it down your cavernous, gaping gullet. But it's a single 2-pound chicken tender that comes with ranch and honey mustard. Yeah, the foul pole. It's a 2-pound chicken tender. The Rangers also have bacon-wrapped hot wings this year, and a chicken and waffle dish served in a waffle cone. That looks really good. Now, if you go see the Braves play, well, you know what's interesting? You know what's interesting about Braves? The Braves? I find that a lot of people that are not from Atlanta happen to be Braves fans because of TBS. In fact, one of my favorite ball players of all time, Curtis Granderson, he was on the New York Mets for just a glorious couple of years. Curtis Granderson's from Chicago, so people ask him, hey, did you grow up a Chicago Cubs fan or a White Sox fan? He's like, actually, I was an Atlanta Braves fan. And the reason was when I got home, I wanted to watch Saved by the Bell, and then the Braves came on TBS, so I'd watch that. It's amazing how many Braves fans are out-of-market fans. But if you are a Braves fan and you have to be, and you are in or around Atlanta, the Dinger Dog. Oh, man. The Dinger Dog at Braves games. It's basically a foot-long pig in a blanket that's stuffed with cheese. They also have a chicken and waffle boat that comes in a long, hollowed-out waffle bun. Yeah, I know. Insane, right? Now, if you go to Detroit, the Coney Dog Egg Roll at Tigers games, it's basically a chili cheese dog without the bun, stuffed inside an egg roll with mustard and onions on top. Sort of self-contained and possibly a little bit neater and cleaner. I like that. I don't like getting too messy while I'm eating at a baseball game. Like, I love that ballpark dog, but I don't want the relish. I don't want all the things on it. I don't want stuff getting on my hands and getting sticky, because then I feel like I have to wash it off. And if that's the case, I got to leave. And it's always when I leave that there's something mind-numbingly amazing happens. And I never want to do that. You try and make it all work between innings, but you can never just make it to the bathroom and back between innings. You always wind up missing something. So whatever allows me to stay in my seat the longest, those are the cuisine options I go with at a baseball game. Then there's the twisted top pretzels at the Cardinals games. Oh, those look good. You get 3 pretzels topped with pepperoni and cheese, buffalo chicken, or bacon and cheese. St. Louis, home of my beloved Keith Hernandez before he went to the Mets. St. Louis also has a giant 16-inch long slice of pizza this year called the Mega Slice. Did you know that besides the Yankees, the St. Louis Cardinals are the team that have taken home the most World Series wins? Yeah. St. Louis is a big baseball town. So if you ever get there, go to a ball game. They do it right. Peanut butter bacon sandwich at a Twins game comes with a jelly glazed bacon piece on a toasted sourdough. Avocado bites at Yankee Stadium. It's deep fried slices of avocado served with spicy dipping sauce. Ooh, the Pittsburgh cone at Pirates games. Kielbasa, pierogies, Swiss cheese, sauerkraut, and Russian dressing stuffed inside a waffle cone. I'm going to need a second for that one. Lots of people are stuffing things inside waffle cones this year, and I'm a fan of that. The Frito pie corn dog at an Astros game. I don't know if you've ever been to Houston or spent much time in Texas, but there's a place called James Coney Island that makes a Frito pie. I think a Frito pie is kind of sort of a uniquely Texas thing. Never had it anywhere except Texas, and it is freaking delicious. Do yourself a favor, try the Frito pie corn dog at an Astros game. Foot-long hot dog covered in crushed up Fritos with queso and Texas chili. The Mets, my beloved Mets, also selling a chili cheese crunch dog that comes with Fritos on top. Yeah, my Astros, my Mets, doing the right thing with the chili. You can get a donut burger at Phillies games, or you can get 18-inch hot dogs at Diamondbacks games. The best healthy new option we've seen is the 32 ingredient salad at Blue Jays games, which is vegan and gluten free. Go figure, Canadians.
Now, more AD on the radio.
You know what else is great about baseball? I mean, look, clearly you have to be on the same page as the other person in this situation. It doesn't matter if you're a big fan or a little fan, but there has to be a similar amount of fandom going on with the person you're with if you're on a date at a baseball game. But a baseball game can be an awesome place to go on a date. I think that a baseball game with me is a fairly good test of how into me someone is or not. Because here's the thing about baseball. I will run the full gamut of emotions at a baseball game. First and foremost, I stay till the very end. Doesn't matter how bitter it is, I will be there until the last out has been counted. And during a baseball game, I will run, like I said, the full gamut of the emotions, and I will have the appropriate physical response to those emotions. I will stand, I will scream, I will yell, I will cheer. I will do all of these things in an unfettered way. And this is one of the great things about baseball that we said in the first place. It allows you to check those emotional restrictions that society places on you at the door when you walk through the gates and be yourself. And, like I said, if you can deal with me doing all those things, you're seeing me at my best and at my worst. You're seeing my passion and you're seeing my inability to control my big mouth as I jump up and down and scream and have an emotional response to something that really I shouldn't have an emotional response to. I mean, look, I'm a very logical person. I'm an if-then person. And the fact that I could have this inexplicable loyalty to a team of people privately owned by a bunch of billionaires. It really has nothing to do with me, other than the fact that I am paying for the ticket. A team full of guys that are not from anywhere near my hometown. And I can get so wrapped up into it. Well, that's weird. That's me letting go of the logic that dictates every other waking hour of my life and your life too. It's fantastic. But yeah, baseball, man, that can be a great date. You got to be on the same page, though. And then there are those areas where baseball and dating converge.
We would never say what happened on a date in regular terms. We'd use a baseball metaphor to explain what happened on a date. So you get on first base, get on second base. And some guys are so precise, I had no idea. It seemed like the more knowledge you had of baseball, the more elaborate your description was. Like, how'd you do? Hey, Wayne, really good. I had a runner on first. 2 outs. I hit a double right to the wall. So I sent the runner, got tagged out at the plate. How could that possibly? So I made it very simple. If I got to kiss a girl, any girl from the neck up, just kiss. That for me, home run. If a girl lets me touch her, and by touching, I don't mean touching her hand or rubbing her back. I'm talking about touching something that I don't have on my own body. If a girl lets me touch her, then I've won the pennant. And then if I go all the way, that, of course, would be the World Series. And as you know, the World Series only comes around once a year. So get an idea of where I was at. Of course, there was always spring training. That's when you spend a couple weeks in practice with your own team. That's always...
But as Lewis Black pointed out, and like I pointed out earlier, baseball represents a tremendous opportunity for emotional release. We spend so much of our lives being controlled, being pent up, being a person that deals with the societal restrictions on our emotion that exist in 2019. So like Lewis Black said, it's awesome to go to a ball game.
Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to be here, and if it were up to me, I'd actually not be here. I'd be at a ball game. That's where I spend a lot of time now. I go to a lot of games. I go to games. I don't care who's playing. I don't care who wins, because I go to sporting events to scream. It's the one place on the planet you can shout anything you want. You can bellow at will. You can sit there going, "Hey!" and nobody will bother you. I yell things like, "My life sucks!" "Dan Quayle is a schmuck!" "If I don't have sex soon, I'm gonna explode!" And parents turn to their kids as I leave the stadium and go, "Hey, there goes a great fan."
There is also that element of fantasy to baseball. A friend of mine told me that since Ichiro retired, he is now officially older than every Major League Baseball player. Ichiro was 45. This guy was 45. And he said once Ichiro hung it up, he was officially too old to play baseball. And you know what? I completely relate to that. And I do that too. I look at the ages of the players and go, wow, bunch of 22-year-olds. I'm older than them, but I wouldn't be the oldest player in baseball if I were to suddenly, unexpectedly, have a professional baseball career. If Noah Syndergaard went down and they needed a new starting pitcher on the New York Mets, well, I would still be in the demo. And it's that interesting piece of fantasy that makes it that much more interesting. The idea that you might one day, for whatever the hell reason, be called up. Like, hope definitely seems to spring eternal in these situations. And I think that there's this misconception that a lot of people could play baseball that couldn't necessarily play other professional sports. It doesn't look as physically demanding as football. You do not have to be an enormous 300-pound specimen to have a career in baseball. And also, here's the other thing. There have been a lot of people that have had very good careers in baseball that, quite frankly, don't look like they're in the best of shape. But the demands placed on people that play baseball, especially the everyday players, especially pitchers who only pitch every 5 days, are insane. You ever been to one of those All-Star Fan Fest things? They happen around the All-Star game. They're so much fun. I was broadcasting from one when the All-Star game was in San Diego a couple of years ago. And in this Fan Fest situation, they've got all these incredible sort of displays and booths set up that reconnect you with everything that made you love baseball when you were a little kid in the first place. Including a place where you could, get your fastball speed gunned. Yeah. And you know what? I was like, when I was a kid, when I was, told by my dad and my baseball coaches that I had quite the arm and was hot stuff, and, I might actually be able to be a pitcher at a college level, I never got that fastball measured. And so they had all these speed guns set up. And meanwhile, there's all these like 12-year-old kids walking up, hucking the ball in at 50 and 60 miles an hour. Like really impressive stuff. And there I am, a grown man, and I don't want to go into my wind-up business and throw slower than a 12-year-old, which I got to tell you was a very distinct possibility. So I just kind of, out of curiosity, I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a go. And you know what? I threw the fastest fastball that anyone had seen that day. I was the only person, according to the folks that were manning the booth, that broke 70 with my fastball. And I didn't do a windup. I just kind of stood there and hucked it in as hard as I could. Threw a strike, too. But it was like, I think it was 73 or something like that. And I was like, wow, I did that without a windup. I'm a badass. Apparently, if Noah Syndergaard does go down, they can just hit me up because I am ready to take his place in the All-Star game and beyond. So, with my second pitch, being all full of myself, having been the only person to break 70 miles an hour that day at the All-Star Fan Fest, bearing in mind most of the people that were throwing were 12 to 15 years old, but being the only person that managed to go faster than 70 miles an hour, I decided to go into my show business. I did a wind-up back like the ones I did back in the day, and man, I just let that thing go as hard as I could with everything that I had. And threw a pitch that was not a strike, and that was about 7 or 8 miles an hour slower. It did not break 70. I was like, I'm going to do this again. So I did it again. And I think I dropped down to 55 or so. In the space of 3 pitches, I lost approximately 20 miles an hour off my fastball, and I thought about the Noah Syndergaards and the Jacob deGroms of this world that go and pitch 100 pitches at 98 miles an hour, and thought, wow, how lucky are we that we've got these incredible freaks of nature that do this for our entertainment. How lucky are we that we live in a country that celebrates this? How lucky are we that we are here in a country where an opening day we can set aside our differences and concentrate on the things that make us the same. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. Happy opening day, my friend.